Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PatFacts. Patrick here, Pat on your back, personal fitness. The end, potentially, is in sight. Approaching that finish line, home stretch. We can kind of see the finish line off in the distance. Hopefully, hope everyone's doing well. We're going to talk about that tonight, our finish line coming up tonight on the show. Recently, it was announced that by March of next year, so 2 years later, after our 2-week initial kind of lockdown or isolation, or whatever it was back then, generally here in Ontario at least, they're hoping to have things lifted, have restrictions gone, have things sort of back to normal. I think the vaccine passport won't be required. Masks shouldn't be required. It's sort of the plan that they're looking at right now. That could change, obviously, just like anything else. But it's a light at the end of the tunnel. We kind of thought it was coming a couple times before with some of our reopenings, and they kind of came back on that. And we went back to a couple steps backwards, then trying again. So, good news. Looks like there may be an end to this. We might be getting close to that kind of return to normal sort of state. We want to make sure that we're ready for it. We want to make sure that we're prepared. And I thought, what a great time that's to start right now. We've talked recently about this being our fourth quarter. Now we have to finish this year strong. So in essence, that should be putting us in steps to start toward that 2022. And now that we know that, again, potentially, at least here in Ontario, and I know there's people that tune in from Quebec and Nova Scotia and other provinces and states, and even countries sometimes, that it could be different for you slightly depending where you are. But the main idea is that by here in Ontario, again, by March of next year, that things are relatively normal-ish or kind of where they used to be. So now let's start making those steps to make sure that things are where they need to be now, so that we don't maybe lose some of those things that we had before that were so good for us, that things that we have now that are so important for us, that have become a way of life for us, that maybe we didn't have before the pandemic, but we've taken them on during the pandemic, and we don't want to lose those. And if you remember back, I think it was about a year and a half or so, that our pal Blake Miles was on PatFacts with us for a 3-parter. Blake and I like to chat to each other, so it was a 3-parter, but I like the way Blake put it so well, that when you want to set your kind of footholds now of those new habits, those new practices, those new policies, those new systems, those new ways of life that you took on during the pandemic that you don't want to lose, put the footings in for them now, if you haven't been already. Hopefully you have. Because when things do finally fully reopen, and again, some of it's happening now in some places, the tides of everyday life or normalcy, that current's going to come rushing back in. And if you don't have good footings, a good foundation of the things you have taken on and ways to keep them as part of your routine, they're going to get washed away in the current. You're going to lose them. And it's going to be very hard to kind of get into that current, to try to put the footings in, to have that good foundation, to keep those habits, rituals, new routines, whatever the case is, when those floodwaters have rushed back in. Now, again, because we've reopened a few times, admittedly, but we've gone through the stages a little further this time. We're in stage 4 or 5 or something. We're one before the end. So again, those waters have already started coming back in. That current's already there. Maybe we're back to work, or we're able to get out more and do more things. We can maybe take in events or be around some more people. So it's kind of getting back to the way it used to be. So again, if you haven't been, now is the best time to really start to dig in a little bit and put those routines in place, put those footholds there. So that again, when that wave, pardon the pun, that wave of normalcy comes back, again, we're set, we're structured, we're stable, we're strong, and those routines will stick with us. Remember, we've always been saying here since we started this PatFacts, before it was even called PatFacts, our first episode, I mentioned my goal for us is to get better and to come out of this pandemic better than we went into it. And that's still my goal. And we still have time to do that. If you haven't been already, or if you're just joining us in this last little bit, there's still time to do that. Apparently, we have at least until March. And again, that's all things working as they're supposed to. There's always a chance, like we've seen before, hopefully not, but things could go a little backwards, take a little dip. Maybe we have to slow things down. But hopefully, if we still do what we're supposed to do, taking care of ourselves, we can come out of this thing hopefully by March. Again, just 2 years later, our 2-week isolation will be over and we'll get back to an everyday way of life. So we're going to go over a couple things tonight that I think will help us prepare and be ready for things to kind of be back to a little more normalcy. Again, maybe not back to normal because we don't want to do back to 100% the way things used to be before, but at least some normalcy so that the everyday life comes through. We're prepared for it and we're ready. So what I'd like you to do is think of your time these last few months, the last 18, 19 months, coming up on 20 months. I want you to think about the things you've done. Think about those new things that you've put into play. Think about those new habits that you have, those new routines. Hey, Nats, welcome. I want you to think about those hobbies you picked up, those skills you picked up, maybe the new job you started, the new business you tried to launching. Think of those things. Maybe the new family night that you've put in. That's a weekly thing. The video calls that you do with friends or family that maybe you don't get to see all the time, but you made a point to stay in touch with people during the pandemic when you couldn't see them. You weren't able to actually see them at all. So I want you to take some time to reflect on some of those things. Hopefully you're still doing them and taking part in them, and you've been able to maybe manipulate them a little bit to make them last during these reopening phases that we've had. But at least I want you to look now at these things that you put in and these things that have improved your way of life. A lot of us said that there were so many things that we weren't doing pre-pandemic, and we didn't realize how important they were to us until we started doing them again during the pandemic when we had the time. Well, our time is going to be the same as it always has been, but it's going to feel like some of it's taken away from us because you probably noticed it already. We're back at work. Kids' sports are open. There's different activities and events going on that we can attend and take part in. So we don't find the time. Remember, we make the time. So you may have to manipulate some of the things you've been doing to keep them in your schedule. Maybe instead of an hour games night with your family every week, maybe it's a 30-minute sit and talk. Or maybe instead of multiple nights a week, it's one night a week. Maybe it's once a month if it has to come down to that because of schedules. But put the steps in now so that when, again, hopefully March 2022 comes and things really open up and restrictions are gone, you can have a hold of some of those good habits and keep them in your holder, I think, isn't it your drawer? I don't know. So you want to put those things in to place now so that you have them where you need them to be. So kind of like a workout we talked before, but if you're going away, maybe your hour workout becomes a 30-minute workout or a 20-minute workout. Remember that show? Same thing again with your game night, with your hobbies. Hey, Bonnie, welcome. It's okay for being late this time. I'll allow it. I started late, so we'll call it even. But we want to have, again, ways to maintain those. So we need to look at our options. What can I do? Okay, I'm working out 6 days a week now. But when things really open up and restrict, I know I'll be back at the office. I know I'll have a commute. I know I'll have meetings and events. What can I do? How can I maintain or keep progressing, keep moving forward? But how can I maintain the habit I've developed of being active or exercising every day or so many days a week? Well, let's look at where the pockets of time are and let's look at the options. And maybe we adjust things a bit. Maybe it's a couple times a day you do a shorter duration. Maybe you do a little bit of activity in the morning and exercise in the afternoon. Remember, those are two different things, activity and exercise. They both count towards your health, but they are two different things. So maybe a little exercise or in the morning, maybe midday, you do some activity because you're at work and you can't get sweaty and don't want to change your clothes or anything. But maybe, again, we've talked a couple weeks ago, maybe an active meeting where you get a walk at lunchtime, just a little bit of fresh air and get some movement in. Maybe that's your activity. Maybe your exercise and activity take the place of that full hour workout that maybe you're doing now. Again, maybe that two or three nights a week that we were doing a few months ago of game night or family time, maybe that's once a week. Maybe that's every couple weeks. But if we don't plan for it now and put it into our schedule and our routines, and maybe start to modify it now, don't wait till March, change that schedule up a little bit now, or gradually change it, so that by the time March comes or whenever your area opens back up fully without restrictions, again, hopefully soon, again, you're ready to get back into it. You already have your routine in place so that you can just carry on with your day as per normal. And you don't have to try to modify as you're trying to adjust to all these other things opening up and getting more, getting busier for you. And again, hopefully the waves of reopening and again, unfortunately, we've gone through 2 or 3 trials of this, again, at least here in Ontario. Hopefully these trials and waves and openings have helped you prepare and helped you start to modify and adjust to that reopening phase, where maybe you've modified things already for the kind of minimal things that open the first time, and then the second stage and third stage, more and more is available. So hopefully that's been kind of your practice, so you can make those systems. So again, now you can just put them in place and just really ramp up. But like we said, we want to make sure you're working towards that now. So again, sit back, review what you've been doing. Some of us have been together for 19, 20 months here on PatFacts. 6 nights a week, 3 nights a week, 1 night a week, different variations of it, plus the workouts. We always talk about kind of month end. We're approaching month end now. Halloween's coming up on Sunday is the 31st. So again, good time to sit and reflect, but go back to March of 2020 and think back through the pandemic. What are the things you've done? I know some of you have taken up painting. We've mentioned Jen's taken up her painting, and she sent me another picture the other night. And to see her progressions from just the material she's using now, let alone the pictures and the detail and the skill that has progressed through this time. Some of you have been posting more on social media. I see you being a little more active on social media and interactive with what you're doing. And that's great. Some of you are out more. Some of you are socializing more. Some of you have learned new skills. Some of you have learned new languages. Some of you have developed new ways to do your work, to do your job. Some of you have adapted to working from home and aren't going to go back to work, or just going to work from home or have some kind of hybrid. So really take those moments to look through at those things that have really made a difference for you, that have made things better during the pandemic, which kudos to you for doing that during a pandemic. But then also take a few moments to look at the things that you're not doing anymore, that maybe you gave up, maybe you put aside because they just weren't fulfilling you. And just as much as we want to make plans to keep those good things, we also want to ensure that we make the plans to have those things that weren't so great for us to not come back into our lives and influence us. And again, put us back to the way we were in March of 2020. Again, as things open up here in Ontario, again, in theory, March 2022, it'll be 2 years after the initial sort of isolation lockdown kind of thing happened here. We shouldn't be the same person we were 2 years ago. Just in general, we always want to be getting better and growing and improving. But especially during this pandemic, when we had more time to put towards things and more focus and less distractions and less negativity and ways we could really fine tune ourselves and understand what our priorities were, what was important, what wasn't, what could be left aside because it just didn't meet with who we were. But sometimes we lose sight of that because we get caught up in the run around of day-to-day life. So look at those things that you added and also look at those things that you took away that weren't helping you at the time, and put both things in there that keep them from either coming back or keep the things there that need to be there for you. And again, look at your different options. Set out your agenda, your schedule, a calendar, a list, and really write things out. Look at what's going to come back for you. Are you going to be going out more? Are you going to be more social? Are you going to be going to activities? Are you going to be working more? Are you back at work versus working from home? Are you going to be involved with more things? Are your kids going to be more active in their sports and extracurriculars? That's going to take up some of your time. Again, is your work going to change because of the pandemic? Because you're off. Some places I know around here have sold their buildings and won't be going back to offices. They're going to have hybrids where they're just in the office certain days of the week and they're going to work from home the other days, or they're going to give their staff the opportunity to pick and see what they want to do for that. So again, look at what's going to work for you and put steps in place now so that, again, you can hold on to that as things open up and as things kind of get back to normal. And let's maintain our course of getting better and improving ourselves and getting that ascend to the end that we always talk about, having that momentum taking us forward where we can always get better and improve ourselves. So review what's worked, review what you get rid of, and look at ways to modify. So thinking of ways to modify the time, thinking of ways to modify maybe, again, the frequency. So how many days a week you're doing something. Again, if you're commuting, that's coming back. What can you do with your time commuting? If you've been listening to the podcasts or audiobooks, or if you've been reading, maybe switch that to an audiobook and have that in the car when you're commuting to and from work. Maybe you have that on your phone, take some earbuds with you when you go to the grocery store. So when you shop, you can make use of the time. You can listen to a podcast or an audiobook at the same time as you're in getting groceries. And it's all about trying to make the use. We talked a couple weeks ago about active meetings, being outside, have meetings with people outside where you're walking around, getting that fresh air. So you're kind of checking off multiple things at the same time. You're making the most of your time, not necessarily multitasking, trying to do a few tasks at the same time, but making the most of your time. So again, a podcast where you're commuting, riding public transit, when you're out for a walk. Again, when you're at the grocery store, I love to put on my earbuds, listen to a podcast. And then I feel like I have one less podcast to catch up on, and I've got some groceries, and I've been moving around the store a little bit. So again, I check those things off the list and I feel better. So really look ahead and plan and put those things in place. And then again, in Ontario, March 2022 is our end goal as of now. So I want you to look at that date and work backwards and know that at the end of October, so say November, you got November, December, January, February, and March to get yourself set up. So work backwards from that date. And again, start now making those modifications so that's not overwhelming when things open back up. And again, some of us have gone through little reopenings or back to work slightly, and I've had some of this already. So hopefully you've learned what does and doesn't work for you as these occur. And again, you can take this to this larger scale and apply it for when you need to. But again, we need to put it into work. We need to be sure of ourselves and what it is we're doing and what it is we want to be and what it is we want to continue to be. If you want to just let things go back to the way they were, in my opinion, you've lost 2 years that are kind of wasted. But if that's your choice, then that's your choice. But if you really want to get better and really want to have a good quality of life and really keep moving forward and come out of this pandemic, to not have to go into one again, or if there is one, we can handle it better because we've been through it and we take better care of ourselves. We have these qualities that we miss so much. We want to become better out of it so that we can better handle another one or hopefully avoid them altogether. And I'm not sure who else outside of you is going to put those steps in place for you. So now's the time to maybe pull up your roots a little bit, to grow up a little bit and put those steps in place. Because I want you to be better. You deserve to be better. You deserve to have a good quality of life. You deserve to enjoy and appreciate the things that are going on around you, to not get lost in the rat race, to not be so caught up in things that you don't know what's going on. You don't appreciate the little things around you or the people that are around you. We want you to be able to enjoy what it is that you're doing to the best of your ability, to spend time with family and loved ones and actually enjoy the time that you're with them. I want you to take a moment, reflect on what's worked for you, and put steps in place to make sure that you come out of this even better than you went into it. That's my goal for you, and I really, really hope that's your goal for yourself. It's great to meet here and talk and say all the words and listen and contribute and do things, but I told you a few weeks ago, my theme of 2022 is action. I need to be better at putting things into action that I plan and think about and want to do. And I hope that you're at a stage or going into a stage where you want to put some things into action now. Things are going to change. You saw how much the government and officials valued your health. Gyms were closed. You couldn't get to them. You couldn't do outdoor workouts for most of the pandemic. Nothing preventative was really done or even mentioned. So it's on you to take that onus. It's on you to make yourself the priority you deserve to be. I can't do it for you. I can give you the guidance and the tools, but it's got to be up to you. It's going to be up to you to put in the work. It's not a quick fix. It's not a 3-week challenge. It's not a 30-day challenge. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. Operationally fit isn't just a little fad workout. It's a way of life. It's going to take work, but anything worth it doing does take work. And then you appreciate the results even more. So we've mentioned this before. When things start to reopen, we'll probably go back to probably May or June of 2020 when things seem to be reopening. We've talked about this. Again, Blake and I talked about it when he was on with me for those 3 episodes. I've revisited a couple times. It appears that the finish line is near and in sight. Again, here in Ontario, and I hope that it is in Quebec and Nova Scotia and other provinces and countries that tune in. I hope your finish line is near. If it's not at you already, if you haven't crossed it already. But when a runner can see the finish line or knows that it's getting close, that's when they kick in the high gear. If you're doing a 10K or a half or even a 5K, you try to time it and pace yourself. So those last kilometer, couple kilometers, again, depending on the distance of the race, you push to the finish line. You don't trudge across and stumble across the finish line. You sprint and run with all your energy to get across that finish line. You finish strong. And that's what I want you to do now. I want you to look ahead to 2022 of March. Work backwards to today and put those steps in place to help you, again, hang on to those good habits and rituals and routines that you didn't have before the pandemic, that you maybe forgot about or didn't realize how much you needed them. And then look at the things that you got rid of in the pandemic that you didn't need anymore, that were dragging you down and making you feel heavy and depressed and affecting your mental health and your physical health so much. Keep those away. Keep the good things in. But it takes the things we've talked about. It takes systems. It takes practice. It takes patience. It takes consistency. But you got to plan and know what you want to do. Again, don't waste this time that you've been given these past 2 years. A lot of people have been really influenced and have lost a lot during this time. Make the most of it. Come out of it a better version of yourself. So again, review what you're doing and put those plans in place. I'd love to even see if your plans as you're putting them together. It's, again, in the comments, post a screenshot or send me a DM of your notes, your calendar, see where things are. If you're stuck, reach out. And maybe we can look at different strategies and solutions to help you keep some of those good habits in and those bad habits away. Because I want us to hit the ground running out of this pandemic. And if you've been with me, you know I want people to say, hey, what were they doing? Like, we had a pandemic for 2 months and look at them. They're a totally different person than I remember them back in March or 2 years ago. They've done this and this. They've accomplished this. They do this now. I want people to recognize you for how much you've ascended, how much you've grown during this pandemic, when so many are really tucking into their shell. And I'm not talking socially or anything. I just mean in terms of development. Some of us are going to be stuck back where we were 2 years ago, and some of us are going to be very far ahead. I don't think there's going to be a lot here in the middle. And if you're back here, you got a long way to go to catch up to those of us that have been working hard during this pandemic to come out of it better. The good news is you still have time. Get into it, get things going now, be better then than you are right now. If you've had a rough pandemic and haven't been able to get the progress you wanted going. And again, if you were doing well and hit a bit of a rut, revisit what you're doing, revisit what has worked for you, what hasn't. And if you're just not sure, again, maybe that's time to reach out to a coach. Get someone who can help you, who's been through it, who's gone through different things, who's had similar experiences, who can guide you and look at it from an outside perspective. Sometimes that's all we need is an outside set of eyes to look at it, our plan, our routines, and go, there it is. There's where there's the glitch in your routine. You were fine. That's the glitch. That's what changed. That has brought you down a little bit. Again, I want you guys to come out of this better. I want us all to come out of it better. And I want us to have preventative steps in place so that the next time something happens, we don't have to worry about this. So get yourself up, look ahead to the finish line, work backwards to today, and then take some time to look back over the past 20 months or so since March of 2020. And again, things that are good, keep them. How can you? Things that you get rid of, how can you keep them from filtering back in and weighing you down? Because just like you feel better from all that positivity, our positivity pandemic builds you up. Negativity is going to bring you back down and make you feel heavy and lethargic and unmotivated. So I really want you to get better out of this. And then I want you to start your sprint toward that finish line. Even if March 2022 isn't your date yet in your province or state, country, town, I want you to start pushing toward that finish line. I want you to make March 2022, your finish line to come out of this pandemic, to be where you need to be optimally. We're finishing our fourth quarter strong here. We're a month in. We've got 2 months left of the year. If you missed that episode, go back a couple weeks and find the fourth quarter. Early October, we talked about it. Finishing the year strong and planning now for the beginning of 2022. Now maybe extend that plan to March of 2022. And again, how can you hit the ground running in January and have steps in place to be working towards your 2022 goals, which now include potentially coming out of the pandemic. Don't waste the opportunity that's been given to you. We've had multiple opportunities to kind of rein this back in and reset ourselves and go again. Please keep yourself moving forward. Just want to go through here. See your comments. Kimmy, hello. Sorry, I didn't say hey earlier. Welcome. Yeah, Nat says love podcasts. Yeah, they're so good, and so many different ones out there. I have kind of a few that are more entertainment or fun, enjoyable ones, and then I have a bunch that are professional development. So I kind of pick and choose between the two. Again, depending where what I'm doing, where it is. If I'm at the grocery store, again, I might just depend on my mood. I might throw something entertaining on that I don't really have to listen to take in the information. I can just kind of enjoy it. But if I'm home, like I woke up this morning kind of early, it was quiet, so I threw on a couple of personal development ones because I had the time to kind of sit and listen and take in the information, go back and review it a couple times if I had to. So I have a mix of both. Sometimes I do find I get almost a little overwhelmed because I have so many and I can't listen to them all the time. So the list kind of grows. So every once in a while, I will take a bit of time and I'll weed some of them out. If I know that there's a topic I don't want to hear or a guest I'm not really interested in, I'll kind of mark those as played or delete them. Just so, again, there's not so much to kind of go through. So if you find that's happening with your podcasts or anything like that, again, maybe just go through them. Again, audiobooks, same thing. You can have some that are just fun, maybe fictional, something just to listen to, or autobiographies. And then some that, again, are more professional development, books and audiobooks. You can find things that work for you. Kimmy says, don't go grocery shopping hungry. So true. Have a little snack before you go and a list. So you can stick to that list. You're less likely to make so many impulse buys if you have that list ready and you've had a meal or a snack beforehand. For sure, good advice, Kimmy. Yes, Nat says in 5 months, remember how to talk to people in real life. For sure, that's different. Hopefully things like this, maybe not this program, help because we're chatting in comments and not face to face, but video calls and FaceTime and things like that hopefully give you some, at least a little bit of social skills, and you haven't lost them too much. And just like anything else, work yourself back into it. We talk about going away on vacation and trying to maintain your fitness, or when you come back from that time off, you don't go right back into it. It'd be the same thing for a lot of us when we get back to in real life. We may not want to go to a room full of 30 to 100 people. We may want one or two people to sit at a table with and say hi and get used to it, and maybe try to shake hands if we're comfortable with it, and really know what we're able to do, what we're comfortable doing, and kind of get the rust off some of that social skills that we haven't really been using maybe as much as we used to. I noticed Natty mentioned earlier, she talks to more people now than before COVID, which a lot of people have. And again, it's easy to talk to so many people in an environment like this, because we can have multiple platforms going at once and all chatting together as well. Natty says her goal is to get fresh air every day. That's awesome. Such a great goal. And it doesn't have to be an hour every day, even 5 or 10 minutes of fresh air. You heard me talk if you go back to some of my first episodes, I talked about just going out on your front step. I mentioned a few weeks ago when I talked about my connecting with nature. Even just out on your front step, back step in your yard, taking some deep breaths, getting some fresh air in can make a big difference for your day, especially this time of year. We're inside, the heat is coming on, the air gets stale, it's stagnant. We need that fresh air in our system. So that's a great goal, Nat. So what I'd like you to do, to your next step, Natty, is what are you going to do to get that fresh air? How are you going to plan it into your day to get those fresh air breaks? If you're back at work, how are you going to fit that in? Is it before work, after work, midday, on a break? What is it you're going to do? Now that's your next step. That's your goal. So how are you going to put that goal into play? Kimmy's already got a suggestion. She says you can come walk her dog, Eddie. Kimmy says, I remember when I could run 2 years ago. Maybe not now, but now you can kind of work back to it. Again, you can kind of just take your time, get for walks, walk intervals, then some jogging, some running, build yourself back up as much as you can. And again, take your time, work through that. One day at a time, we kind of keep ourselves getting better. Right, Natty, don't break your foot again. That's a good idea too. Yeah, because you can't walk, Eddie, if you have a broken foot. That won't work either. So, and thanks, Bonnie. I appreciate the feedback. We've all grown. I've seen you grow as well in your interactions and social media posts and what you've been doing, and Natty and Kimmy too, who are in the chat as well. I've seen you all grow so much, and it's been great to see. I feel very happy for you, and hope you feel happy for yourselves and proud of yourselves for doing that. And I'm starting to compile my kind of PatFacts library so I can release it as a podcast and do some new things with it, and have it kind of in one space for you to go back to and see some episodes, and to see kind of episode 1, 2, and even things a year ago. I've thrown some replays up on YouTube and things to rebroadcast about a year ago around Halloween time, just to see the difference in myself and how I talk and communicate and kind of run the show. I can see a big difference, and sometimes I need to sit and watch those to remember that, and to see the difference and the way I've grown between this. And I know Bonnie watched me on the 3 Not So Wise Men show that we did for about a year or so, and both of this and that show have helped me grow tremendously in a lot of facets of my life. So thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that feedback, and again, congratulations to all of you and all you've grown as well, again, mentally and with your health. And again, if you haven't been, again, the best time to start getting better is now, right now, not in 2 weeks, not in 2022. Start now. Look at March 22, work back from today to today. What can you do tomorrow? Not even today. What can you do tomorrow to get a little bit better? And set yourself up today for that tomorrow, and then get that ball rolling one day at a time. Patience, what you need to do to get yourself moving forward and growing. So again, just to wrap up here, and again, thanks for being here. Finish line is in sight. So take some time, review the things you've added that were so important to you that maybe you lost sight of before the pandemic. Look at the things you got rid of during the pandemic that before the pandemic were just weighing you down and bogging you down, and you probably didn't notice it then. But again, that's why we take some time to reflect and realize what was weighing us down. At the same time, what we've added that's making us do better and feel better. And then again, from March 2022, let's say March 1st, there's no date, but let's say March 1st and come back. What can we do to keep those good things? What can we do to keep those bad things out? And what can we do to make sure that we're being the best version of ourselves we can be and getting better every day? Ascend to the end, like we like to say here. Put the steps and strategies in place. And again, now you're moving forward into 2022. You're planning now for 2022. Don't wait for January. Don't wait for March to adjust to the pandemic being gone, or at least manageable. Start now if you haven't already. Hopefully you've been starting. But now, start now. Put things in place. Let's have a wonderful 2022. I want to hear from you what your theme word for 2022 is. We talked a few weeks ago about it. I gave you mine is action. I'm going to put more things into action, and I'm starting that this year. I'm not waiting for 2022. I'm going to put my online coaching business into action very soon, and my on-demand workout platform. I'm relaunching that very soon, and the podcast very soon. I'm going to have 20 months worth of podcasts or PatFacts put into a podcast to have, so you can listen to them and revisit them. And for those of you that are going to join my on-demand workouts, there's going to be different tiers where you can join me live when I bring on guests to PatFacts. That's the next step. Bringing in other subject matter experts and some of my mentors and coaches and peers, and have them on the podcast so we can both give you information and knowledge for you. And you can join us live for those a few weeks before they come out to the public on a podcast platform. And again, have online coaching for 3, 6, 12 months at a time to help you reach your goals, help you be operationally fit. So that's where I'm going in 2022. But again, it's starting now. It's going to be out before 2022. So myself and my clients, and again, hit the ground running and make 2022 a year of action for me, a year of, for you, whatever you decide your year will be. But think about it. Pick one. I picked growth for this year. And if, as you've noted, you guys have so nicely mentioned, I have grown a lot in 2021 through the steps I've taken, the PatFacts I've done, the courses I've taken, the work I've done. I have grown a lot. There's still lots of room to grow, but I feel like I have grown quite a bit in certain areas of my life. So that's great. Nice. Nads, I love it. Natty says her word for 2022 is evolution. I love it. Evolution. The evolution of Nads. I can't wait to see that. That's a hashtag in itself. Gonna love it. So evolution is Natty's growth is word for 2022. That's her theme for 2022. So I'm going to take action. She's going to take evolution. And she's going to plan now her 2022, right? Natty, you're going to plan now. I know you like planning. Your 2022, how can I evolve? She's going to ask, what can I do to make sure that it's a year of evolution? So from January, well, really from October 27th, 2021 until December 31st, 2022, what am I doing to evolve? How have I evolved? What am I going to do? How am I going to become a better person? How am I going to ascend till the end? How am I going to ascend through the year of 2022? That's evolution. That's always getting better. So that's the next step, is planning that out. And again, don't wait till New Year's Eve of 2021. Start now, little bits at a time. Then it's not overwhelming. Then again, you've got plans in place. You can keep moving yourself forward, and you have a higher chance and probability of sticking to your resolutions or your goals because you're starting them now. You're not starting them January 1st when everybody else is, and you feel pressured to do so. You're trying to adjust to a new year and a job and winter and this and that. Start in October now. Progress into it. Modify it. Maintain it through the holidays. And then kick in the door of 2021 and make it a year of your own. And always keep spreading that positivity pandemic. Great stuff. Awesome, Kimmy. I see the typo there. Kimmy says she's planning on a healthier 2023 and a 2022, a much healthier one. Awesome. That's great. So healthier. So maybe health is your theme word for 2022 and 3. Go 2 years if you want to. But maybe that's your theme word now. So now you think, okay, that's my goal. That's my theme. Now what can I start doing now to set me up for that success? Do I need to exercise more, to eat better, to sleep better, to manage my mental health? Do I need to change relationships? Do I need to modify them? Do I need to maybe cut out some of those people that drag me down and spend more time with those people that bring me up? Remember, health, there's so many components to it. Maybe health is part of Natty's evolution. Again, pick your theme word. Your theme word I found this year would really help me line up what I was going to do through the year. And there's some things I could have done more of, and there's certain things I couldn't do because of certain restrictions I had. But because I kept reminding myself, it's a year of growth, it's growth. And even some things that didn't work out for me. My first version of the on-demand fitness didn't work out. It didn't have the turnover I had hoped, or the kind of the sign-ups I had hoped for, the conversions I had hoped for. But I learned from it, I grew from it, and now I know to shift it to this other platform and to bring it back in a different way that takes some of the pressure off of me, but I can still deliver high quality content, which is where I excel more. I can do the workouts and show you classes, and I don't have to worry about the admin stuff with the version I'm coming out with soon. So I can focus on my strengths, and I've grown from that to know that I could do it all, but I don't need to. I can give up a little bit to have someone else look after certain parts of it so that I can make sure I'm giving you the best quality that I can going forward. Awesome. Bonnie says determined is her theme word for 2022. Awesome. I love it. Great word again. Determined. We're focused. What's going to help us stay determined? I'm determined is my theme word. So what's that going to trickle down into? It may be Bonnie's case. So determined can factor into health and eating and sleep and maybe career path and what's going to go on for you for 2022. So again, there's different ways. There's not one way to do this. You have to find the way that works for you. So we have evolution for Natty, we have health for Kimmy, and we have determined for Bonnie and action for me. And then if you're joining us on replay, I know some of you said you would later on because you couldn't make it tonight. Let us know. What's your theme word? And if you're not sure what we're talking about, again, go back a few episodes and we talked about a theme word and what it was going to be, what our theme would be for 2022. Basically your overall kind of theme, and that's going to influence your decisions and your planning for 2022. So start with get yourself ready for that finish line that we talked about tonight. Think about your theme for 2022. Hopefully they tie in together. And take some time. It's Wednesday. It's the 27th of October. Take some time to finish this month planning for November 1st. Even if you don't start things now, you have 4 days to finish off October. Put those plans in place. Make the plans. Figure it out. Talk with a coach if you need to. And then November 1st, let's really hit the ground running. If you're ready now, start now or keep going. But if you don't have a plan in place, give yourself the time. Don't beat yourself up about it. Give yourself the time to make the plan, to make the system we've talked about. And that'll benefit you so far into 2022 and 2023 and beyond. Because as we've talked about, once you have a system, then you just interchange what the system is working on and tweak it a bit. But if you don't have a system and you're always, my Twitch people will love this, starting from scratch, then you're always trying to reinvent the wheel. And you always spend so much time that maybe you don't take the action you need to. So, awesome. Yes, Kimmy and Natty, yes. Next 2 months are the warm-up for sure. Put things in place. Try things. Trial and error. This works. This didn't work. If I do this way, maybe it'll work. So that again, into December and get into January, you've got the trial and error done. You've practiced things, and now you've got that ball rolling. You've got that momentum taking you the right way. See what happens when we focus on something and give it some attention and put our minds to it and be serious about it, because it's yourself. In 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, we've accomplished so much now for you guys all to have a great 2022 and beyond. Give yourself the time to take yourself seriously, make yourself a priority. You deserve it. And that's going to help everybody around you even more than you're already helping them now. And I know you guys all throw so much energy into everyone else around you. Bring it back in a bit. Build yourself up. Take better care of yourself, and they'll benefit from you 10 times more than they already do. And I can't wait to stay in touch and see everyone over these next 2 months and into 2022 and see all the progress you're making. As always, reach out if you need help, if you need some coaching, want to take things to that next level. Again, reach out. Things are coming down the pipe as far as, again, on-demand fitness, online fitness coaching, remote coaching. And I'll be talking more about that soon because I do want to explain more of the remote coaching, but I don't want to take up any more of your time tonight. But I'm really excited about the way the coaching is going to be positioned. It's fitness coaching, wellness coaching. So it's personal training, but really amped up and more in depth to get the most of it and to give you some independence as well, which I think is going to create amazing results for everybody involved. So, but again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to reach the finish line of this episode before it is actually 2022 and we haven't put any plans in place. So again, just to reiterate, March 2022 is supposed to be our end goal of the pandemic, of the COVID pandemic. Look to March 2022. March 1st, I'm going to say March 1st, plan it, work back to today. What are the things you want to keep that you developed during the pandemic? What are the things you want to keep out that you kind of shed during the pandemic that weren't doing you any favors? And what strategies do you need to put in place to make sure that things stay status quo? And keep in mind, it may not be exactly like it is now because of your time and schedules. That's okay. But what can I do now so that when March does come, I'm ready for it? What can I start doing gradually? And then go back, watch our fourth quarter episode and talk tonight. Watch our theme episode a few weeks ago, our theme word for 2022, and tie all those things in together. Think of a theme for 2022. What's your 2022 going to be? And then that theme in your plan to come out of the pandemic in March, again, all things considered equal and that things go the way they're supposed to. How are you going to make 2022 your year to match that theme? And then plan things around that theme. Look at workshops, look at courses. What can you do to make sure things match up? Job decisions, professional, personal decisions to make sure things align with your theme for 2022. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Appreciate it, Natty. Thanks for the feedback. And Bonnie and Kimmy, thanks for being here live. Again, those of you that are tuning in replay, I know some of you are, please, whether you're on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, comment. Let me know. What's your theme for 2022? What are some of your plans in place? And what are you going to do? What are you going to hold on to post-pandemic? And what are you going to keep away post-pandemic? And what are you going to do to keep spreading that positivity pandemic that's so important for all of us? Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. Take really good care of yourself. Still ramp up that self-care. We're not out of the woods yet. And even when the pandemic is over, we still want that self-care to be so high level that, again, we don't have to worry about anything else coming down the pipe. Have a great night, everybody. Remember, always make yourself the priority you deserve to be by striving to be operationally fit. Have a great night, guys. Stay safe.